I want to introduce our first speaker of the day, Samantha Linnell. Sam represents a new department within the College of Graduate and Professional Studies and a new really topic area for us. It's a new business practice that we've been trying really hard to embed and integrate into CGPS and the way we do our day-to-day business. So she is our one and only project manager for the entire college. So please join me in welcoming Sam to present the applicability of project management in higher education.
Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of our online learning symposium. So we're kicking off today, obviously, with the most exciting topic, project management. I don't know how many of you are, well, actually, now that I'm looking, all of you are very familiar with what I do, but I'm excited to talk more about where we see this within higher ed and how this applies. So when I was originally asked to speak at the symposium, I heard there was a lot of interest in project management in general. So I'm hoping to leave a little time at the end just so that I can understand more about what specifically interests you about project management. Obviously, I had to pull in a Dilbert comic because what is more applicable to project management than one of the driest comics out there? So what is a project manager? Project managers are, we're excited and passionate about executing and implementing projects that matter to you. So we are the glue that holds a project together. We take you from original and initial ideation through to launch, and we do that with so much enthusiasm. We're always very excited to hear new ideas and to implement. We love engaging with teams. We like bringing people together and collaborating. And I particularly love scoping. So project management is governed by the Project Management Institute, which offers a variety of certifications anywhere from your traditional PMP through to now a business analyst certification. And in their effort to share knowledge about project management and educate, they are also interested in well-rounded project managers. So they have developed a talent triangle. I talked a little bit about the leadership aspect. So one of the components of the triangle is that interpersonal and facilitation skill set to help build and engage teams, which is something I particularly enjoy about this. The strategic and business management piece, so you have your idea, where does it fit? How will it help your organization, your company, your industry, the world, and beyond? Technical project management, so this is your toolbox. This is your scopes, this is your Gantt charts, your project plans, all of those kind of exciting aspects that, again, I get very excited about. So even though there is this talent triangle, the application of project management varies greatly from industry to industry and project management personal style and a variety of factors, what kind of project you're even attempting to implement. So approach and methodology. We have PMI, we have our talent triangle, we have a talented project manager working with you. So what does that mean to how your project even gets off the ground? So we begin by determining approach. Again, like the variety of industry and the variety of styles, there is millions of varieties of project and what you're hoping to do. So I typically begin understanding what is the project objective, what are we trying to achieve? If anyone, which I know most of you in this room have had the pleasure to talk about projects with me, know that I ask 1.5 million questions and then 1.5 million more because I love to understand what is driving the project, what is driving the need. So we understand the project objective. So then what is the goal of the organization? Where does this project fit? What can we do to make it fit? Or if it doesn't fit, where does that leave us in terms of how we approach it, if at all? What is the value the project is providing? Whenever I begin meetings or any kind of discussion about a project, I like to thoroughly explain that we are here because this is valuable and your time is valuable and what we are going to do will be great. So I start by understanding what the value is. So what are we doing and why does it matter? How complex is the project, which also feeds into what is the size and scale of a project. These two go hand in hand because it determines the timeline, it determines how big our project team is, it determines the approach to some extent, or to a big extent. Are there timeline pressures? Is there something within our industry that has dictated that we need to move quickly? Is this a longer term objective that will be realized in a year and a half? What is the timeline parameters in terms of how we are going to approach this? Are there any lessons learned or outcomes from previous projects that should be considered? So did we run a project similarly in a more traditional way? Did we fail and we have specific things that we want to do so we avoid failure again? What kind of things have we learned over time? And then, do stakeholders prefer a specific project methodology? I have a preferred methodology, which is Agile, and that is still a relatively new term, a buzzword that people are still learning about and learning to understand. So is there a big variance in terms of somebody who prefers a very traditional linear path and has a specific way of understanding information versus somebody who's more adaptable and open to change? What are known constraints and risk and external factors to consider? So, a wonderful example that is very applicable to CGPS is how do we operate, or what resources do we need on a project that maybe are external, ITS, registrar, financial aid, what are these entities that really could impact our project? And more broadly, what is happening from an industry standpoint? Is there a huge trend that we really need to be on the front end of, and that requires us to really quickly develop a new product? So a variety of factors that all kind of come together as the recipe for how we approach a project. So we have our kind of approach, but then we have methodologies. And as I said, there's a lot of different methodologies that can be chosen, but I have a background in throughout my career, I've been primarily a project manager in software development in IT, and that usually means we fall into two categories, predictive or waterfall, or adaptive and agile. So the waterfall approach is your traditional approach. You try and understand all of your unknowns up front. You really spend a long time scoping and collaborating and talking about a project. And then you spend a lot of time, once you have all of that documented, implementing and kind of working the project plan. And while this is a perfectly wonderful approach, it's a little more time consuming, and it leaves you with more challenges if there is a change in the project, or a change in direction, or a change in the speed of delivery. Agile is, again, my preferred approach. Agile came onto the project management scene in the mid-90s. It's still something that is in process of being more broadly adopted. People look to Agile, or organizations look to Agile almost as a like the silver bullet, like this will solve all of our problems, and it won't. But it does have shades that definitely make collaboration a little more easy. So what I appreciate about Agile is we don't spend a lot of time on the front end saying, well, we're going to do X, Y, and Z in this linear pattern. We come up with our broad umbrella. We come up with our value statements, our goals, our vision, and we say, we're going to see what we can deliver in this first iteration. And then we're going to evaluate, we're going to get feedback, we're going to collaborate with other stakeholders. It's really a broad stroke that says everybody come on board for this project and really improves shared understanding. It also is very transparent, and what I prefer most about Agile is you talk a lot. So you talk about the project a lot, you talk about the approach a lot, and it's not necessarily in these kind of structured silos. It's really across a whole organization, which is another piece of Agile that I really appreciate, where it's not just this person is the expert and we're going to bring this one expert in and they will be our expert. It is, oh, well, this person also has another side of it that's really practical to bring in. Charlotte's presentation yesterday was a great example of this, where a group of experts from different facets of our organization came together to produce a product, which is incredible, and we should do more of that. So again, I will continue saying Agile, probably about 50 more times in the, I think, 15 minutes I have remaining, so be warned. So why does higher ed need project management? Of the about 1.5 million project managers currently working, very few of us are actually working in higher ed, which is a fact I learned a couple of months ago, and I just didn't realize that this was not the typical realm for project management, because you think, well, this person has a project management skill set, they should be able to go anywhere and do anything. And for the most part, that's relatively true. And this is my first time being a project manager in higher ed, and there are interesting learning curves, mostly due to the just intense complexity of this of any higher education entity and organization. So higher ed being as complex, it's also very steeped in tradition. We have very specific ways of being and very specific ways of doing things. However, there is an increased interest from higher education to be agile and nimble and to be able to move really quickly to respond to change. There's intense competition in our industry, and how do we continue having a competitive edge with new products, with new offerings, with a new way of being that will benefit our students? And so how do we fit in higher education? We increase product speed to market. Here's an idea for an offering or a course or some kind of value benefit for our students. Agile or project management really can help say, well, what is the minimum viability? What can we get to market the quickest to get our idea out there, to then get students engaged and interested to continue coming back to us to expand on that knowledge set. Improved organizational agility and innovation. We get people together to complete something in compressed timeframes. We help people achieve wonderful things, and the idea is to continue doing that through project management. Maintain strategic alignment. So these great ideas that originate in a variety of ways, hallway conversations or something that comes up from an industry standpoint, how does that fit within where we want to be and how we want to operate? Reduce silos and increase cross-functional collaboration, which I've said in a variety of ways throughout this entire presentation so far, but the idea that we need to work together, that we are stronger together, this kind of hive operation is something that project managers can certainly help. So why project management is a value add? Because clearly I need to continue talking about this. We help to refine the vision and value of a project. So here's your idea, here's what we can do with it, here are my million questions, here is the end result. A project management will chart the course and clearly outline project objectives. We'll be able to take, again, your idea and show you where it can go, or help to show other people where it can go. We are delivery focused to achieve organizational goals. So here's your timeline. Here's when we need to achieve this by, and then doing our very best to adhere to that with specific risk and external factors in consideration. Project managers are solutions oriented and avid problem solvers. You have a problem, I really want to solve it. By whatever way possible. If that's bringing a group of people together to help solve that problem, done, wonderful, and the end result will hopefully be a project. We can increase organizational alignment by keeping in mind the bigger picture. It's really easy for anyone to kind of focus on what they have in front of them on a day-to-day basis and say, well, this thing may help, or maybe this will be the direction we should go. And project managers can help say, oh, this is your idea, well, this is where it fits, or this is the bigger picture. Encourage the collaboration of teams and departments. Again, I'm going to say this more and more and more, probably in the next 9 minutes. We help people work together. Engage stakeholders and team members in project goals. So we're very interested in your project, and we help share that interest with others and get people excited about working together and achieving something really great. So a couple examples of current projects, or of projects that I've worked on in my about 10 months here. So Salesforce Trailblazers, the goal of this project was to bring together a group across the organization to focus specifically on human processes within our technology and to evolve Salesforce. So this project came on the heels of our HEDA implementation, and the outcome from HEDA resulted in a list of optimization points, some bugs to fix, some ways to kind of polish the project as a whole. To achieve this, or to kind of gain more insight into what was the specific need, we brought together directors from the specific unit, so from marketing, from student support, from enrollment, and we included one of our program directors. And we started talking about, what are your needs? Why do you need X solution, or what is the value add for what you're proposing? And while we got very far with that, we decided to expand the group to include the actual doers of the process, opposed to just the people determining the process. And the outcome from that was a huge amount of ideas and a really nice way to close the loop in terms of what we are doing, where we are going, and how that impacts you, and what you can do to support it. So SPHP process mapping. So our science prerequisites for health professionals is a high volume program, and there is a lot of pressure put on our student support advisors within that group. So to help alleviate some of the pain points, we mapped what it looks like when a student comes in our process, into our system, or into our realm of being, and what it looks like as they even get to registration and eventually to course completion. This identified a couple of pain points that resulted in high call volume, so requests for information, or that kind of like redundant information gathering that each student was kind of coming to us for. So we decided that at the beginning of this process, we're going to, so the primary pain point was information access. So we implemented a new FAQ page, and it helped to reduce call volume so that we can focus on real value add conversations with students to help them be successful in our course. The Jitterbit integration, which is still ongoing, but the goal of this project is to integrate banner data into Salesforce utilizing Jitterbit as the conduit. And the true benefit of this project, and again, kind of my song and dance about collaboration and working well together, we were able to really strengthen our relationship with ITS and build a partnership to have great collaboration from a development perspective. We were able to gain insight into the registrar's needs to eventually plan a project with them. We just were able to absolutely collaborate again from our internal processes. We had the doers of the process. We had student support staff working with us on the project to say, this is important to me, this is why I need this, and this is how you can help me get there. So kind of coming full circle with being very collaborative. So that is project management in a nutshell, and I hope I answered or piqued your interest in a variety of ways, if anything, just to collaborate more. So we have about 5 minutes left. Does anyone have questions? Hello.
Hey, Sam. So one thing, I know you and I obviously work very closely together, but I remember back to the early days of adjusting to introducing project management, even into my own work. And I think for folks that maybe aren't used to having a PM as a resource, if we're used to owning our own work, we bring in a project manager, it seems like we are giving up our authority or our control, and that causes some hesitation of, wait a minute, she's responsible, but it's my thing. And so how do you, as a project manager, set people at ease, in terms of getting them to realize you're a resource, you're not controlling the project, but you're there to help make sure that it comes to fruition? How do you manage that?
Great question. Typically, any part of a project, especially as you're assembling your team to execute on this vision of, the person who either originated it or has direct benefits to be realized from it, is roles and responsibilities. So who is working on the project, who's responsible, who's accountable, and how do we define that more solidly? And then when you're actually kicking off the project, how do you ensure that everybody is understanding that and asking questions? So this also comes into play during a project, because who hasn't experienced scope creep? No hands. So that can also occur within a project with roles. So, maybe this person has specific responsibilities and points they're accountable for, but they're starting to stretch into maybe this other realm. I have definitely been guilty of it, especially in IT, where I really wanted to learn how to implement a specific technology. So then I ended up starting to take over some of the beginning phases of it, which impacted our developers and our technicians. So keeping in mind role creep, which is just as critical as scope creep. Is that helpful? Okay. Anything else? 3 whole entire minutes. Okay.
Should everyone study project management?
Yes.
Should it be something introduced into general, gen ed requirements and
I think shades of it. So specifically with project management as an industry, there are an overabundance of resources for people to learn more about project management, but I think what a benefit we could certainly provide to our students and even staff, and what we're actually in progress of with an internal project development course, kind of refining the lens of what that means. So what are the soft skills, or what are the aspects of project management that we see as a direct benefit to our students or to our staff or anyone really? So yes, I feel like everyone should be familiar and interested in project management and adopt it in ways that help them to work more effectively. Okay.
All right, so building off of Chris's question, is project management perhaps something that we should think about as a way of moving some of our shadow curriculum around teamwork and group projects, collaborative work, out of the shadow and into, and here are some concrete tools and techniques to actually make this more efficient and effective?
Absolutely. Okay. No, I appreciate that perspective, because especially, who's ever worked on a group project in school and has been disappointed by either a lack of accountability or ownership, where roles and responsibilities can really help define that more than just saying you're the project leader. I definitely think that, yes, very applicable. All right, so I think that's all, unless there's a final question or expression of enthusiasm about project management. Cool. All right, well, thank you, everyone.